Hello, everyone. This is Raccoon from Nintendo Era. I hope that you enjoy the first episode of the Nintendo Pipeline. In it, we discuss leaks and rumors. But the episode was recorded on March 16th, before the Bloomberg report that suggests the Switch Pro may have DLSS support. Please keep this in mind as you listen. I hope you enjoy.
Hello, everybody. This is the first episode of the Nintendo Era podcast. And since this is our first episode, we're mostly going to be talking about Bowser's Fury today. But before all of that, let's introduce ourselves. I'm CMM1215, but you can call me Clay.
I'm One Up Muffin on the Discord, and Jared in real life.
And I'm Barry, better known as Raccoon.
All right. Well, before we get into our main topic of Bowser's Fury, I wanted to cover a little bit of semi-recent news, namely the Nintendo Direct that happened in February, along with the Pokemon Presents, since those are really they're like the most major news we've had so far this year. So, first off, we had a few major announcements in that Direct, namely Skyward Sword HD, Mario Golf, and Splatoon 3. So I kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on these and how you felt about the reveals and what's coming. We can start with you, Jared.
Yeah, I was actually very impressed by this direct. While there's nothing on the caliber of like a new Mario or Zelda, I think Splatoon 3 could be a very exciting point in the series. 2 was made in only a couple years, and now they've had a full development cycle to make a sequel. So hopefully that'll lead to an exciting single player and some cool multiplayer changes.
And what about you, Barry?
I have devoted a year and a half of my life to waiting for a Nintendo Direct. And, we finally got one, and it's the longest we've ever had, which blows my mind to think about that the first one was so long after so much time. And it was okay. I, I, um, I actually remember being really sour on it when it was first live. And, then I gave it like a half hour and I was like, it was pretty good. Definitely gonna buy Metopia. I think Metopia being a port or a remake, actually, it's a remake by Grezzo. Um, Metopia being a remake says something sort of interesting for speculation about Nintendo's intent with some future developments. Because Metopia came out on the 3DS in 2017, um, so it wasn't really it didn't have as much exposure as, but it was still successful. So it's interesting that we could potentially see some projects that didn't get that attention get a second chance.
Yeah, I really like it for two reasons. Besides, like the game seems interesting, and I'd
Yeah,
like
I'm
to give it a
excited to play
try.
it.
Yeah.
But one, it means 3DS remakes are possible, and there's a lot of amazing 3DS games that I would love to see on the Switch. And it means Mii's are back, baby.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I love Mii's. I have
I
so
love
many on
Mii's.
Switch, and I've had nothing to do with them.
I feel so sad because most of my Mii's are they're just stuck on my Wii in hell.
Yeah.
But I do love them, and I'm glad to see them getting, another shot with Metopia. But on another note, yeah, I mean, I kind of felt similar to Raccoon or Barry. I liked it. There wasn't that much that was specifically for me, which is fine. Um, but I think there were a lot of announcements, and there was a pretty decent variety of announcements, and showcases and stuff. Skyward Sword, I'm not super wild about that game to begin with, but I do think it's good to have it available on Switch. I'm glad that they, are still leading with the motion combat because that was actually what I liked the most about the Wii version of that game. Mario Golf, I think I can just summarize in speed golf. Like speed golf and Wii Sports like motion controls. I was very on board with that. And then Splatoon 3, I think the new setting is interesting. It kind of gives like a Mad Max sort of vibe, and I like some of the changes that they've shown so far, like dropping into Battle and like some of the new weapons and stuff.
Yeah, there's a bow now.
There is a bow now. That's true. Yeah, and I'm interested with where what other kind of weapon classes and changes to single player and stuff that there'll be.
Yeah, I think the one thing for me that would have just brought it up a level is I think what brought me to Nintendo and we haven't seen for a few years, I guess besides like Bowser's Inside Fury, is like a new like platformer. So I was hoping to see one of those, but besides that, I think it was a really solid showing.
Yeah, and so on that note, well, a little bit. There were obviously we had some major announcements, but there are also a lot of fun bits, and I thought it would be nice to maybe bring up some of the stuff that wasn't as like oh crap, it's Splatoon 3, but the other stuff that you guys liked in the direct. I'll go first on this one. Just wanted to mention that Famicom Detective Club actually coming to the West is wonderful. I will not rant about how I wish it was a physical version, but I'm very happy that that game is getting a chance in the West. What about you guys?
Yeah, I would actually agree with you on that. Famicom Detective Club, right?
Yes. Yep.
Famicom Detective Club. It's I love seeing these type of old, previously Japanese exclusive titles being released here. I know we had Moon last year, and now FTC. It's great that these games can see new audiences.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sorry. Go ahead, Barry. As I was going to ask you
yeah,
anyway.
I I think it's cool that we finally got Fall Guys.
Hmm.
I
Yes.
mean, when I saw it, my first instinct was that it's way past dead, and it is. Just it's kind of old news, but it's very Nintendo-ish.
I definitely think it'll get a new boost of life on the Switch.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's a game that I wanted to hit Switch. The only thing about that is just I would be interested in playing it, but I'm probably not interested if it's me spending like $20 on a game that's online only. But
Yeah,
that kind
yeah,
of
though it was
dampens
just
it.
purchased by Epic Games, and they
Oh,
previously bought Rocket League and made that free. So
oh,
I definitely see
yeah.
Fall Guys having a free to play future.
Yeah, I feel like that game works better with that. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah, like that
yeah.
particular game I think does better as a free to play experience.
Yeah,
Speaking of,
they just announced Among Us characters for it. Speaking of another like
Amogus.
oh
bad game.
yeah, yeah.
Amogus.
Yeah.
When the fall guy is sus. Okay. Um,
Uh, Speaking of like really small things, I think it's interesting, especially for understanding the format and speculation about directs, that Animal Crossing DLC was in the direct, and that it was Mario Animal Crossing DLC, because those two factors, that it was DLC, which we've seen very separate timeline of announcements from other Nintendo things in the past year. Um, so separate, there's a separate Twitter account, Um, and then the DLC, which was originally announced in the Mario Direct last September, um, both of those being in a general Nintendo Direct is kind of interesting for people like me who have in the past followed speculated about what the format means. Um,
yeah, it is. I wasn't expecting the Animal Crossing Mario content to be shown there, because yeah, like you said, they typically have that just kind of as its own separate thing. So I figured when it got closer, we'd get a video for it. But then they were like, "Hey, look, I guess we're gonna show it here." So who knows?
yeah, I think ultimately it just depends on timing. There aren't really as many hard and fast rules um, as you would think, but I think there are some. There's an understanding internally of what belongs in certain shows. But at the same time, at the end of the day, it just depends on the timing for some stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I think we've all learned at this point that quote unquote rules just kind of
Yeah.
they just don't
And
really apply.
there's actually a first party Nintendo game that we missed.
Oh,
Yeah, what's
Yeah,
that?
it's DC Superhero
Oh.
no,
Girls.
no, right.
It's published by Nintendo.
That's true. And we did find
Um,
out that that's
it's
being
kind of surprising.
developed by the Deadly Premonition guys.
Oh,
Oh
weird.
no. uh,
So who's picking it up in June? I think it hits June. Day
is it
one?
June?
Yeah, I believe it's June. I could be crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but also, Neon White was an interesting surprise. I thought that game looked very interesting.
Which one was that?
Neon White was like that. It was like that first person battle game, but you had
Oh,
cards.
with the cards.
Yeah, yeah,
The FPS deck builder. That did look interesting.
yeah.
Interesting dev on that, right?
Oh yeah, who did that? That's a
They did something completely different before.
dang. I actually don't even
Yeah.
know what they did.
Shoot.
That's
I
interesting.
think I remember hearing about it, being really impressed that they had pivoted. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, hmm.
I just looked it up. It was Ben Esposito who did Donut County.
Donut County,
Very
of
different
course.
game.
I should know that.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Yeah, that's
It's a raccoon game.
yeah, yeah.
I need to try that. That's on a non-Nintendo service
Oh.
called Xbox Game Pass.
Oh,
No.
no.
Oh boy, here we go.
It's
All
already
right.
started.
Well, on that note,
10 minutes in.
on that note, next up-
Pokemon!
No, not Pokemon. Not Pokemon.
Oh,
You can
okay.
talk. We'll get to Pokemon. Don't worry.
I don't even like Pokemon.
I
So
don't think any
another
of us like Pokemon.
another big announcement was the opening announcement, which was the next Fire Pass character was Pyra/Mythra, and they're out now. They have been for a bit. Who here has tried them out?
I have.
I haven't.
Well, you suck. No, I'm kidding. All right. Well, then, Jared, tell me what do you think of them from what you played?
Yeah, so they're actually really interesting. So for those who don't know, Pyra and Mythra were kind of like the old way Zelda and Sheik were, where you press down B and you switch between them. Except they're not as different as Zelda and Sheik were. Think of them more like a Marth and Roy. Pyra is strong and slower, and Mythra is fast but less powerful. I think they're actually pretty fun to play. I definitely prefer Pyra because I lean more towards the strong and slower characters. But yeah, her moveset's very very enjoyable. Less gimmicky than some like Minecraft Steve, but still a great addition to the roster.
Yeah, she's definitely more straightforward than some of the other characters. I do really enjoy their move sets, and I like that they made their specials different and their general properties to just down from their speed to Pyra obviously having flames, and being able to kind of toggle between them very very quickly. I'd also like to mention the content that came with them. The stage I thought was really neat. It's simple but like cool, and
It's pretty. It's a pretty stage.
it is a very pretty stage, and the music that they included was actually a decent amount of music. Not a huge number of new remixes, but there were 16 tracks in there, and Tiger Tiger's the best one. That's all I'm saying. Barry, what do you think about her? Just having not played her and kind of seeing her a little bit.
Long ago, long ago, I vowed that I would never buy Xenoblade 2 characters in Smash Bros. I did this quite publicly across multiple direct threads. And I've really proven myself a fool now because they're real and they happened and I don't care at all. Like, I'm not really upset, but I haven't bought them because I haven't even bought Sephiroth because I really only play Smash Bros. Socially, and that's kind of for circumstances unforeseen, not viable right now.
Right.
So
It's a
I
time
haven't.
like any other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's neat. Fans seem happy with it. Some of them happier than others, but we won't talk about that. It's, yeah. So I don't know. I think it's neat. I don't. I guess I've grown up a little bit in the past year because I just can't be all that upset by a Smash character.
That's good.
Character
Yeah,
development.
yeah.
2020,
That's my
a year
arc.
of growth.
Yeah.
That's the arc. All right. Well, since you enthusiastically mentioned it,
Pokemon?
oh, yeah,
Is it
Pokemon.
Pokemon time?
Yeah. So we had a Pokemon Presents, and they showed the main stuff that they showed was Brilliant Diamond, and Shining Pearl. I just know it as BDSP at this point. That's what I wrote down. And then they also showed Pokemon Legends Arceus. So I guess we'll start with you then, Barry. What did you think based on the presentation for both of those?
Pokemon Legends is sick. I think that people are ridiculous in criticizing it. Oh, that's not true. People have reason to be critical of how it looks, but people are acting like it's super ugly or whatever. And it's like it's pretty much, we can assume, a year out, right? They said early 2022.
Yes. Yep.
So it's a year out, you know. I think it looks great in terms of style. You know, we went from, because I think Pokemon Sword and Shield, because I played some of Shield, and I've seen a lot of it, and I think that Sword and Shield are just some of the most astoundingly hideous games. I could end it there. I will. Not even just on Switch. Just like really, really terrible looking. And Legends, in my opinion, looks great. And Diamond and Pearl, you know, that's interesting. That's unexpected. I was a little surprised that they outsourced a remake, although it makes sense when you look at the broader picture, knowing what we do with Legends.
Right.
That the Gen 4 stuff was kind of a, you know, an exported thing. And it's interesting to see that for Game Freak now, the demands of maintaining the brand and the game's development has sort of eclipsed their growth. And they can't quite keep up the same schedule if they're going to add something like Legends to what they're doing. And that's fine, I think. I know that there are some people who really dislike Diamond and Pearl. I know of like a couple people in particular that I know who are like really upset by it. I think they look fine. Like they're goofy looking, but it's Pokemon. It looks like the DS game. That's a pro and a con.
Yeah.
Depending on
Yeah.
I don't mind the chibi style. I think it's all right. They were actually like I haven't played many Pokemon games in my time, but the last one I played was Pearl.
Okay.
So I have that connection, but I mean, I don't care enough. Of these two, I think Legends is far more exciting and could be the first Pokemon I play since Pearl, just because it seems so different.
The first Pokemon I played was X.
God, y'all
That's
are
not true.
y'all are
I played
babies.
No, my first was Yellow.
Oh, okay.
My last
Well,
one
you're
was
okay.
Yeah.
Barry's a child.
I am a child. I played a little bit of like one of my older sister's Emerald carts, but like the first one that I had for me was X. I was like 12, I think, when that game came out, like 12 or 13, and it was okay. It was fine.
Yeah.
I kind of feel about Pokemon as a whole the way I felt about the February Direct. It was whatever. You know, it happened.
Yeah.
Some people liked it, and that's cool.
I want to like Pokemon a lot more than I do. I usually like the
Yeah.
spin-offs more. Which
Yeah.
they actually they showed a new Pokemon Snap trailer here too, which was neat.
Yeah, that was what I was personally most invested in, and I loved it. So, and yeah, in regards to those two main games, I think we can all easily agree that Legends is the more interesting one. Just, you know,
Yeah.
God,
And I
I'm-
guess for
all right.
like a brief thing, Legends is like, what if Pokemon was open world?
Yeah.
For people that didn't see the trailer.
Yeah.
If you're the one person
I,
that
I,
didn't.
I don't want to say it, but I'll just say it anyway because everyone's thinking it. Pokemon of the Wild. But no, it's interesting. BDSP, I thought, like when I first looked at them, my immediate thought was, oh, it's like the Game Boy and DS style, but in HD, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I saw the reaction. Everyone's like, I hate this, and I was like, oh, okay. I
Yeah,
don't.
I was surprised by
Yeah,
the reaction.
I was a bit surprised that it was as like angry as it was. I mean, I know it's Pokemon and Pokemon makes everyone
Yeah.
angry, but
Pokemon brings out the vitriol in people like nothing else.
yeah, but like even then I was like, "Oh, okay." And I mean I get it. If they were looking, I think there were a lot of people looking for a more like Pokemon Sword and Shield styled remake,
Yeah.
which
Mhm.
I get. Just kind of, I get that. Personally, I thought it looked clean. I thought it
Yeah.
looked nice. I'm hopeful that it includes the platinum content that people want. I know there's been some like, a couple of small things that people have been like, oh, look, that's from platinum. So I mean, we'll see. But as someone who doesn't like Pokemon very much outside of spin-offs, Legends is definitely the more interesting one to me, and it's definitely still far out. I mean, I'm not expecting it to be like, you know, like look like God of War by the time it's done, but
Yeah.
it'll definitely look better. So, um,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's enough on all of the news stuff. That actually was much longer than I thought it would be. We had a lot to talk about. The actual main focus of this episode is about Bowser's Fury. We kind of wanted to do a deep dive on that game and kind of, talk a bit about what makes it tick and all that. So, I guess I'll open it up to Jared first. What were your general thoughts on Bowser's Fury like just in general?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed Bowser's Fury. I thought it was a good length. I think if it was any longer, some of the frustrating bits that I'll go over later might have wore a little thin on me. But for the length it was, I thought it was a great mix of like 3D World and Odyssey, kind of like a very unique take on the 3D Mario, though taking a lot of elements from the older games.
What about you, Barry?
3D World and Bowser's Fury is such an interesting package to me. Having, I'm almost done with 3D World. I'm playing it with my sister. Uh, I'm close to being done, I think. And I finished Bowser's Fury. And it's interesting that with 7 years apart, right? Just about 7 years.
Yeah.
Um, that we have something in Bowser's Fury that uses pretty much the same parts from 3D World to make something completely different. It's like a two-in-one Lego set, right? Like it's the same pieces and it makes something completely different. And I think that's super cool. Between the two, I think I prefer Bowser's Fury. Even though, I mean, it's rough around the edges in some places. It's clear that it's not a main like development focus, I guess you could say. I think there are places where you can kind of tell. I saw a couple people complaining about the soundtrack being sort of like, I think the soundtrack is great.
Yeah, same
But
here.
You do hear like a
it's
few songs, maybe too much, but like
Yeah.
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
mind it at all.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say is that like there are places where it kind of like the development polish sort of wears thin, and it's not like the quality, it's just like the polish that you see in a brand new $60 game like Odyssey isn't quite there because it's something smaller, it's something different. um, all that being said, this weird little formula they came up with um, really scratched an itch for me, and that's why I think it's probably one of my favorite Mario games. um,
Yeah, I'm I feel similarly. I really enjoyed Bowser's Fury. It was very good at giving you that itch of like, okay, I'll get like one more shine and then stop. And then you're like,
yeah.
well, all right, I guess I'll get another one. And then, it's like you have 20 shines later, you know. Uh, but yeah, the length is great. I like that it's short. I think it lends itself well to replay. Um, and I also felt that we'll probably get into this more specifically a little bit later, but the speed at which you get shines reminded me definitely of Odyssey, but also of Mario 64, where if you know what you're doing, or if in this case, if you just kind of are a little bit fast about it, you're gonna get shines and kind of be moving forward constantly, which I thought was nice.
Yeah.
So
I actually want to stop you for a second on the
oh yeah.
Mario 64 thing, because I had the same thoughts too. That it reminded me a lot of 64. Like each little island, kind of reminded me of like the smaller stages in Mario 64, and that once you complete a star, you kind of have to leave the level like you do in Mario 64 too. Like you're not kicked out, but often the level doesn't change until you come back.
Right.
So I thought that was a very interesting touch.
Yeah, I guess we can kind of use that as actually to kind of segue into what I wanted to talk about a lot, which was the game's sort of format, the structure of the game. So the game is, for intents and purposes, is basically an open world, I guess, Mario game. I would say, probably you could probably compare it to like maybe like the Sand Kingdom or something like that in Odyssey if you want to be more technical about it. But it's basically an open area, and there's a bunch of little mini islands and stages and challenges all over the place. So I was kind of curious how you guys felt about how well that works for Bowser's Fury. If there were any other structural things in the game that you wanted to mention. I guess we can start with you, Jared, on that one.
Sure. I really like the structure for the most part. So you generally get a choice of like 2 to 3 islands to go to and collect shines, um, which I thought worked really well for the most part. But there is a weird edge case you can hit, which makes it kind of frustrating. Also, if you hear in my background, it's now pouring rain, so the audience is aware. So there was an area with 3 islands. I completed 2 of the islands. Like I kept going back and forth between the two. Got all the shines there. And then to get all the shines in the third island, I had to, like, after you collect a shine, it makes you kind of go away for a bit. And usually you go to a different island. But with only having one island to go to, I kind of just had to, like, try to ride the dinosaur. Like, was it Plessy?
Yeah, Plessy.
I had to try to ride Plessy as far as I could away in the hopes that the island would reload and I can get the next shine. So that was like a weird, kind of felt like an oversight. But I think besides that, I really liked the structure and the flexibility.
Yeah, I think that's definitely worth noting. What about you, Barry?
I think that it was successful in bringing some of the appeal of an open world to Mario. Because to me, the appeal of open world games in general, besides things like immersion and a sense of cohesion, is you're going somewhere to do something and you can get distracted. Or you're going somewhere to do something and you can find something else. And I had a couple of experiences like that. I did pretty casually breeze through Bowser's Fury, and I think it's probably a better experience than like what Jared described of systematically completing it. I'd almost say it's like better suited to like kids than gamers, because like a kid will just have fun going around, and like the world gives the illusion of always changing, and it kind of has mysteries, really subtle. Like, I mean, I know I'm a 20-year-old man, and when I played the game, and I think it's the Colosseum kept adding layers, I thought I had like gotten lost and found a different, taller Colosseum. I was like, whoa! And then I realized it was the same one. I was like, whoa!
Yeah, that was a very clever stage.
Yeah. The platforming in it is incredible, of course. It's just cool. Things like that, I think, have a lot of appeal to younger gamers. just that a world will feel dynamic, and I think it does that better than Odyssey. And I think that's something that suits the Mario emotional beats really well. That you go around and things in the environment change a little bit. Things are always changing with the Fury mechanic and the uncovering of new areas. I think that's neat. A lot of time when I play Nintendo games, I'm kind of have in the back of my mind with certain games like what a kid would feel. Um, and Bowser's Fury is like I think it would be awesome for like a young kid to play. That's my recommendation. Uh, I guess for parents listening. Um,
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I feel similarly in terms of the structure. Obviously, it is possible to, run out of stuff to do except on one island. And in that case, you kind of have to hop on Plessy and roundabout or whatever. I didn't, at least my playstyle, I kind of hopped around anyway. So I was just kind of like doing whatever. I was kind of scatterbrained when it came to that. I also do think that the challenges, like, you can encounter the rabbits, you can encounter the Plessy gates, and in the post game, you encounter the Plessy medals. I think that kind of helps um, make that a little bit better because typically when you complete another shine, then like that's an immediate way that it'll reset, an island that you had just been to. Um, and then the other thing, which Barry mentioned, the Fury mode, or not mode, but the Fury condition, I guess. Um, Obviously, that's a big thing for this game. You know, it's conceptually, I like it. Um, Execution wise, uh, it was kind of eh. I like the intensity, but one, it lasts not very long. Two, the most creative the game gets with the Fury mode in terms of like gameplay stuff is just break the Fury blocks, and then like there's not really much there beyond that. So I guess I'd like to ask you guys about Fury mode in particular. Then I'll start with you, Jared, just because Barry already touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, so for a game called Mario Bowser's Fury, I would say this is m- maybe the only part of the game I disliked. Uh, I thought the first few times the Bowser's Fury attacks, it was exciting and cool, and the first time I hit a Bowser block with it, I thought that was really neat. But as you go on, I feel like it just got kind of tiring. Like I'd be doing other shines, and then I would just get interrupted by Bowser. One of the worst cases was if you're carrying the kittens. There's a post game mission where you can carry the kittens across the islands to their mother, and if you're carrying a kitten while Bowser attacks, your
Yeah,
kitten just turns into a demon kitten in your hand and cancels the mission out.
yeah, it just
So there's just
immediately damages
some
you.
frustrations like that, and it happens way too often in the post game. I
Yeah,
just wished I could like
yeah. Oh
toggle
my
it
gosh.
off.
yeah, yeah, especially in the post game where like you're doing cleanup, and part of that cleanup is probably Fury blocks. You're like, okay, when's it gonna show up? Like, do I have to sit here and find something else to do? Am I, you know, do I get angry and just grab a Bowser amiibo and scan it in?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a thing.
yeah. If you scan a Bowser amiibo, it immediately
It
becomes
summons him.
Fury time. Yeah,
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
yeah.
Is there like an opposite of that?
Not
Go away,
really.
Bowser
Yeah,
Yeah,
amiibo.
like scan like a Peach amiibo and it just goes away.
yeah, not that I know of. The other
Oh,
ones are
that'd be great.
mostly all just like you get power up.
Actually,
Yeah.
I never tried that. I have amiibos, but I never even considered it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just wanted to play through the game without, any of that, which I guess leads us into the next thing, which is this game has a power up inventory, and like it's not like a normal Mario power up inventory where it's like, oh, world map, and then you get a power up at the beginning of the stage, or like a reserve power up, but like a straight up, like you have like, a whole thing. Each power up in Bowser's Fury, you can have up to 5 of them, and you can summon them at will. And when you collect a power up, it doesn't get rid of your previous power up, but it stores it in the inventory. And I thought this was very interesting because I'm someone who typically prefers 2D Mario, and one of the big reasons I like 2D Mario more is the variety of power ups that you get, that you know you can have a lot of different situations. Like you can run through a stage and it's small Mario, or you can cheese a stage, or at least, get through it easier with Raccoon Mario, or, you know, um, you can take on bosses with a fire flower if you have them, or, there's a lot of different, like, opportunities, and different things, and the game changes a lot, and you can kind of make your own sort of fun with power-ups. But 3D Mario typically has, like, time limited power ups. Mostly, like 3D World is obviously a big exception here. But like Mario 64 has the wind cap, and it goes away after X amount of time, and you only can be metal for a little bit. And even Galaxy is like, hey, you have a fire flower, but it's on a timer. Like, so it was fresh to me to have these power ups, and not only have these power ups, but also have it so that I was very surprised that you didn't just lose the power up when you got a new one. Like, being able to switch between them for different situations was very interesting to me, even if it made, you can make plenty of sections in the game extremely easy with, like, particularly the cat power up and the Tanuki. So I guess I'll start with you, Barry. What did you think about the whole power up inventory system they had going on in Bowser's Fury?
I'll actually tell you what a good friend of mine thought of the power up system. Um, he texted me and said, "This is just like Mega Man." And I
Hmm.
haven't played much Mega Man, but that was such an interesting comparison to me. Um,
Yeah, actually, that is really interesting.
yeah, that you, I mean, and you have a quantity, right, with
Right.
Mega Man, and the like power to it.
Yeah, he has
Um,
like you have a limited amount of
hmm
ammo, or however you want to
and
recall it.
you can collect a quantity of these power ups. So I think it's kind of a neat thing. I definitely used it a lot. I think it's a great, um, again, great for like kids, because it's easy to gather power ups, and as a kid, or as someone who's bad at games like me. You know, I mean, I always tried to have like 5 cat suits on hand. Like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Are we gonna start seeing actually true 100% of Bowser's Fury is getting all the shines and also maxing out your power up inventory?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but yeah, that's actually a good point about Mega Man. You can switch between your weapons for any situation, and that allows for, you can be that person who goes through and tries to do it Buster only. Um, or you can be that guy who's like, Metal Man in the refight, I'll throw a metal blade at you and you'll die in one hit. So, um, would do you think it's do you think it's too easy? Do you think that's fine? Do you think,
I don't
like,
think it's too easy.
yeah,
Personally, I don't think it's too easy. I understand why some people might feel that way. Um, it couples well with the open world design, I feel, to collect power ups on your adventure and be able to use them elsewhere. Um, and it also opens new opportunities, I feel, and they didn't pursue it too much, but there's a great opportunity to have multiple power up puzzles or secrets or collectibles, um, things that kind of require both and switching between them. So in the future, if a system like this is implemented, um, you could get pretty ambitious with it from a design perspective.
I
yeah,
I, I really liked the new power up system. I thought it was one of the smartest features in the game. Sometimes there was a problem in 3D World for me where I would get halfway through a level and there would be a green star that would require a cat suit, and I didn't have one on me, so I would have to kind of play the level again. So with this, just having that power up in a block or in your inventory, that really eliminated that problem. And I thought it was a really
Yeah.
smart solution.
I don't want to like take up too much time with this because the focus should be the new stuff. But playing it again as an adult, 3D World does not respect your time, like at all.
Yeah.
It's like you gotta play this one if you want everything with Peach, and the only way you need Peach for it is because there's a button with a crown on it.
Yeah,
you
those
Yeah.
know?
are so silly.
It's not integrated. Like you don't need the speed, or you don't need the floating, or the abilities. You just need to be this character, or the button won't. You know.
Yeah.
And like you said, with the sometimes you're just gonna need a cat suit. We don't have any here. Go get one. You know, it's just like. I mean, it's a meaty game. I think 3D World like is kind of huge, honestly,
Yeah.
and that contributes to it. But man, does it make me feel disrespected? You know, I spend $60 on you and your little brother, and you treat me this way.
How could you?
How could you betray me like this?
Yeah, and on that note, I've seen a variety of thoughts on this. So we'll start with you, Barry, on this one since it's kind of tying into this. But the shine objectives in the game. So there are, the ones that are like, oh, okay, beat the level, and that's fine. But then there's, in terms of the variety of types, right? So there's a lot of ones that are blue coins. There are a lot of ones that are fury blocks. There are a lot of ones that are, smash the switch and a thing pops up. I kind of wanted to ask you guys about how you felt about the variety of objectives, if they felt, like there were too few permutations, or if it worked out, if they were some of them were too fast, that kind of thing. So I guess, we'll start with you, Barry, on that one.
So, personally, I think that the Bowser's Fury objectives were awesome. Okay, and I'm a big fan of Mario Odyssey, but the Bowser's Fury objectives are a huge step up for the most part, because they kind of fit into like a format, and formats in game structure are very satisfying. You know, you say that they're repetitive, and well, not you specifically, but people say that they're
Right.
repetitive. But I feel like it's more like you go to different places to do similar things, and that feels good. Like every area or most areas have like P-Switch, or blue coin area, or blue coin challenge, I guess. Most areas have a P-Switch with a fight, like a little arena appears, magic's from the ether, and you fight some enemies. And I don't know, I think that sort of thing is really satisfying because people talk about there being too many objectives in Odyssey, and I don't think that's really the whole problem from a psychological standpoint. Odyssey kind of leaves you feeling directionless sometimes, and I'm a big fan of it, so it almost feels bad to be entertaining an argument. I have spent on and off been fighting for years now, but with Odyssey you find yourself kind of going around doing random things. Odyssey's one of its core themes is being on this journey with a lot of unexpected things, and you kind of or rather the moons sort of play into that, because between Odyssey worlds there are a few things that I would say are shared, and you guys might disagree. It's been a while since I've played Mario Odyssey, and I'm sure there are exceptions, some pretty notable ones, but those always feel like exceptions. They feel that way. In general, with Odyssey, you're going to a world and you're going to do all the little tasks that are in that world, and for each world it's different. Some people might think that's good. I think it contributes to the general sentiment that Odyssey has, and I'm using air quotes here, too many objectives, too many collectibles, because it's not about the quantity, it's about how the relationship between the game and the player, the way that these worlds and these objectives present themselves.
Right.
And in Odyssey, it's very deliberately presenting itself as chaos. And ironically, in the open world Bowser's Fury, it's portraying itself to the player as structure. These are areas, and they have similar tasks for you to do.
So you're you're kind of saying like, okay, so like main island's always going to have, finish the level. It's going to have a blue coin, objective. It's going to have a key objective, yada, 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 Fury, Luigi, whatever. And that's sort of, I don't know if comforting is the right word, but yeah.
Bowser's Fury really needed that too. It's a smart choice because, if Bowser's Fury were structured the way Odyssey, also air quotes, is structured, it would be pretty much unplayable. Can you imagine if it was just a giant Odyssey map with things in random places? Very insidiously, Bowser's Fury is a traditionally structured game in a very novel, new world format. And they've threaded that needle very well, I feel.
Yeah.
And I think that the repetition makes Bowser's Fury the streamlined, accessible, but fun experience that it is.
I'm curious, Jared, what you think of some of what Barry said, especially the parts in relating to how the game's objectives feel compared to Odyssey.
Yeah, so I think they're kind of hard to compare, because Odyssey was trying to be something a lot bigger, and I think their intention with Odyssey was for you to not get all of the moons. Like, there's over 800 moons. I don't think the developers really intended for most players to get them. I think what I like about in this one, Bowser's Fury, is there's those 100 moons. It was an amount that I wanted to get everything. It didn't feel like an insurmountable challenge. None of the tasks were like extremely annoying that I was like frustrated to do them. Like or on like Odyssey, like there was those like do 100 jump ropes or trace a circle, and some of those I just did not like. There were
trace a circle. There are trace a circle missions in Odyssey. Jesus.
There were none in this that I disliked as much as those. But I will say I didn't like the cat ones.
Yes.
The kitten ones
those were miserable.
Those were bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I thought the Luigi ones were boring, where you just like chase a shadow Luigi.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was just dull.
They're super easy. Yeah.
They just felt like filler. But I liked all the other ones. I liked the blue coins. I liked the keys. I thought the key added like a interesting challenge where you progress through the level normally, grab a key, and then you have to walk back with the key using no power-ups or no power-ups and no diving.
Yeah, no,
that's really interesting.
I think
and I agree with you make a great point about Bowser's Fury being designed to be completed. And Odyssey, I agree, is not. I love Odyssey, but I only got all the moons in New Donk City, and I used an exploit for like the jump rope.
That was hard. I did it. I completed the jump rope challenge.
Congratulations!
But it was not worth the time I spent on it.
No,
man, I got I had like an attempt on the jump rope. It was like the first attempt I made on it like that day, and I got 97, and I was so pissed. I was so mad.
I would turn off the game.
Yeah, I was like, damn. But yeah, it's interesting. I felt that in terms of the objectives that were the weakest, definitely the Fury blocks, because that was just you using yourself as a human freaking blast shield for his fire, and you kind of sat around and waited. Although I do find them interesting just in the sense of routing out the game. And that's more of a, if you're speedrunning it or if you're replaying it and you're trying to be more efficient, you can kind of route, when Bowser gets furious to kind of get some shines. The other ones that I thought were weak or weaker were the key ones, actually. Mostly because a lot of them were like, there's a key at the end of the level, and now you bring it back to the beginning. And, there weren't many level situations or structures that made that particularly interesting. some of it was just like, I mean, granted, you don't have to do this, but like, I'm just gonna Tanuki fucking float back to, the start. I'm gonna jump off the top and return. Or, I think it would have been more interesting if maybe like there were a few stages where the keys were not at the end of the level. They were in like kind of weird spots, and I thought that was slightly more interesting. Like I know one of the earlier ones, I want to say it's the one with all the like, I think it's bounce isle. There's with all the springboards. They put
Mhm.
the key like on the top of like a wall. Um,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
it's not like extremely hard to find or anything, but like you can conceivably miss it. Um, so yeah, I guess maybe if those were less like the keys always at the end, or like maybe the cage didn't have to be at the beginning. But yeah, I do also agree on the Fury Luigi ones that are like they're kind of just they feel like Shadow Mario, but like somehow worse than Shadow
Mhm.
Mario. Um, and I also find it really funny that you can sick Bowser Jr. on him very easily. Um, I did like the cat like coin ones. We haven't mentioned those yet. The cat shards or whatever
Oh
it is.
yeah,
Yeah,
they were like the silver stars from Mario
yeah,
64 DS.
yeah, or even kind of like the red coins in a way.
Mm.
Where yeah, like it's there you kind of have to look around a little bit. I mean, some of them were really dumb. I know
Yeah,
there's a few
I had to
stages.
Google two of them.
Yeah, I didn't end up having to Google them, but like there were a couple of stages where I was like, all right, where is this stupid thing? And it's like, oh, it's underneath, but only it's underneath on a thing on the side, but only on one side, and it's like in the middle of this long stretch of nothing. Like, all right, like, and I don't I think it's good to have some explore. Well, I think it isn't bad to have some exploration in there, but I think I don't think they should necessarily be like a cakewalk, but some of the placements were kind of weird.
Hmm.
But for the most part, they're pretty solid. And I actually
Yeah.
really liked the Plessy Gate, the bonus
Yeah,
areas,
Hmm.
and the
those are
medals.
fun.
Yeah, like those
Yeah.
were ones that made sense to have multiple of.
It feels
Um,
good to ride Plessia. I guess we haven't really talked about that too
Yeah,
much.
oh,
yeah,
it's so good. It's like one of the best parts of the game, and we haven't discussed it at
yeah,
all.
she's fast. She got a
Yeah.
big speed
Yeah,
boost. Like she's on something. I don't know what, but
Getting around the islands feels fun. It doesn't feel like a Wind Waker type slog.
yeah. And she also, I don't know about you, but there are several times that I had just fun with Plessy, like deforesting an entire island of trees.
yes, yes, yes.
And that does play into the final boss as well, which we probably should cover the boss
Yes.
encounters, where
Spoilers, I
I
suppose,
mean,
for this
yeah, but
Mario game. It came out a month
Spoiler:
ago.
yeah,
you fight Bowser.
if you're yeah, well, you
Skip
spy,
forward to the end if you
yeah,
don't want to hear any spoilers.
but with the final encounter is a unique encounter, and you need to use Plessy to approach Bowser, and the way that it works is, um, if you take damage from him like throwing out his weird blocks or whatever, or his flames, um it not only slows you down, but the game will not allow you to hit Bowser basically. So you need to not only be fast and be following Bowser, but you also need to not take damage. And I mean, you have plenty of power ups that you can tank damage with, but the battle will go on longer because the game is just like, nah, you suck, and Bowser's leaving, to this next part. So I thought that was interesting that it used Plessy's dive and her like speed jump, that she has in this game. What about
Yeah.
the that and the regular boss encounters for you guys? I guess we'll start with Jared.
Yeah. So I'll say I liked that final encounter. I thought the Plessy boss was actually the most interesting. I got
Yeah,
um, I got sort of bored of the other boss, the Bowser uh, boss. You kind of do the same thing like three times, which uh, it's okay in like a Mario 64 when those three times are like hours apart. But when you're
yeah,
fighting the same boss within like 3 hours, it got kind of dull for me. Though it's a cool spectacle the first time.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out too, it wasn't just 3 times; it's 5 times
That was
that you.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was too much.
yeah, like because there's the point where Bowser's like, "All right, well, you got my health bar down to half. I'm still defeated. So you have to come back." And the only thing they really did was, and it's not too dissimilar from Mario 64 in this sense, but each battle iteration added a new attack or gimmick. Um, but yeah, I would agree that they got a bit boring and played out by the end. I wish that maybe they had a little bit more difference, or maybe were a little less frequent, or I don't know. What about you, Barry?
Um, I thought that with with the boss, it's just kind of, I don't know if it's because I'm pretty bad in general at games, but I don't really have too much of an opinion on it. I think that the loop for the main Fury encounters makes itself apparent pretty quickly if you realize you can pick up the blocks.
Yes.
Um, because you just pick up blocks and throw it at them, and it's really easy, and it's kind of satisfying, but it's not
Yeah.
really, because it's so simple. And then the final boss, I think, is incredibly irritating.
Okay, I'm curious.
Personally,
I'm
I don't
curious.
know. Yeah, I don't know. I always felt like I was doing a bad job of driving Plessy or riding Plessy. Um, and I don't know what it was, but I just could not send this dinosaur in a straight line. I could not. There were a couple times where I missed like the power up bubbles. There was a time that
Right.
I missed hitting him, or hitting the ball that he has taken. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's been a month.
the thing with the
Yeah, the
with the
thing.
things. Yeah, the thing with the things. Yeah, that.
It was a month
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
It's a Mario
The
game.
Lucky
He
Bell
took
thing.
something,
Yeah.
and yeah. Um, so yeah, I think that the boss fights were pretty annoying. I think I agree with Jared that the Fury is probably like, I mean, it's an important and it's important structurally. It frames the game really well, um, and I think it's interesting and it's novel and it works for something small like this for that reason that it's novel. It's something you can put on the front of the box. It's like ooh. Uh,
Yeah, Bowser's
but
really mad, and now there's this cool art of like
yeah,
crazy
yeah,
ass looking Bowser.
yeah. Um, but in general, I think that Fury wasn't too compelling in practice. I think that one of the most insecure design decisions they made was the Fury blocks. I know you guys touched on it before, but to me, that conveys that they were concerned about the loose coupling between the gameplay of the main game and the Fury mode, or the Fury mode they call it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, that's
Uh,
basically what it is.
sure. And they wanted to couple those in some way, so they made it so you have to find these blocks. And I don't think it was worth it. I didn't feel like they were connected. I think it instead highlighted a disconnect. If they weren't there, that disconnect would have been fine if they had owned it. But I feel like they tried to cover up or mitigate this distinction between the two modes, and I think it's really lame. What would have saved it, in my opinion, is if the game did a really good job with collateral damage processing with the Fury
Hmm.
blocks, right?
Yeah.
So like if when Bowser's Fury happens and he's just shooting at you and it's like a whole thing, if it were constantly keeping track of which ones he happens to hit, then it would be, and if they were more visually distinct when they're gone, like there's like a crater or something, then it would be another thing where it's kind of a mystery, kind of a dynamic world where it's like you see this block that you can't hit, only Bowser can hit, and you're like, oh shit, that's crazy, dog. And then you come back later and you're like, oh, this is a crater now because he showed up a bunch of times and he just shot randomly because he was pissed.
Right.
And I think that would have been, it would have added further to the sense of wonderment that comes from a world that changes, even if sometimes the seams are apparent, like Jared was saying about having to go away from an island and come back to it. I
Yeah.
think that would have been cool. That would have been a better thing. But is it technically possible? Maybe, maybe not. But Fury blocks are bad. I don't think that's a controversial opinion. I don't think we have to defend that too much.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think anyone is particularly wild about Fury blocks. No one is excited about Fury blocks.
yeah.
I felt like the game was
Existential
just
dread.
yeah, I feel like the game was kind of too afraid to lean into the Fury elements a lot because
Yeah.
it's really easy to end Fury, right? You just get a shine. And then, there's the Fury blocks, which you can basically use as that shine to end Fury mode. It would have been so much more interesting to me if, Bowser becomes furious and then he stays furious for a certain amount of time and there's not a way to stop it. Like, you know, you can time it obviously so that, you get a shine right as he's turning angry and then that cancels it out. But like, the game is much more chaotic and kind of wild when he is out there causing issues. And I feel like it should have leaned into that more. Then again, there are definitely stages in that game that were not really built particularly well for dealing with Bowser when he's enraged. Um, Ones where it's like very difficult to find cover or, so I guess that's sort of a thing too. In regards to the bosses, yeah, they were repetitive. It was silly just kind of throwing the blocks at him. I didn't even notice you could throw the blocks at him for a while.
I
Like,
didn't know until the last battle.
yeah,
What?
yeah, like I
How
didn't.
did you guys get through it?
I just waited for
Holy
him to
shit.
ground pound, basically.
Oh,
Ground
Um,
pound or
you guys
I
are good at
sideswiped
games.
His,
I'm
Yeah.
not good at
wheel.
games, right? Like I was just like grab a block immediately because I was like, this is bullshit. There's no way this is the only way.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Even
man, I breezed through that.
yeah. I mean, I didn't have much trouble with them, but like, I had the idea of, when he spins on his side, you can probably smack him and knock him over,
Yep.
but I always just, screwed it up because I'm bad. But um, then, as an addendum to this, there is the 100% bosses, which are different, slightly. um,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
could barely
are
tell the
they
difference.
different?
So
I-
I'll explain the
I don't
differences
doubt it, but-
real quick. So with the 100% Bowser like Fury boss, um, the main gimmick for that one isn't anything new that he does outside of his health being a lot more, but that the cat, well, the Gigabells, they don't respawn. So when you get a Gigabell, like to start the battle, that Gigabell's gone forever, and then if you run into any of the other two, they're gone forever. The other fights, they actually like regenerate after a while. So that was pretty much like the ultimate like actual like, excuse me, quote unquote tough version of that battle. And then I think the more noticeable one was the 100% version of the Plessy part, because one, his attacks are much crazier, and two, the game is much less forgiving in terms of, if you take some damage, eventually getting to hit him, the game is just like, nah. He just hops away and he then shoots like 30,000 blocks at you, and you just kind of have to figure out how you're gonna dodge through him. So that one took me forever. The second 100% boss. So I don't know what you guys felt about those. If they were different enough, if you even noticed.
Yeah, I didn't
Oh.
notice the difference except for the Plessy part. I noticed there were more like landmines or whatever they were, water mines.
Yeah, it seemed vaguely harder, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm like, kind of, what's the most polite way to put it? Dumb. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I just didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. By that point, I was just I was trying to be dumb.
Yeah, I was pretty
know.
done with it by that point.
Yeah. Well, I guess on that note, are there any other thoughts about the game that we didn't really talk about that you guys
I
wanna
like it.
share? Yeah.
I think it's neat.
I like it too.
Yeah.
Do you also think it's neat?
Oh.
I do, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Okay. Good. Phew.
Um,
Okay.
One thing I wanted to briefly touch on, the post game is a little weird. Not weird. Okay, so like the Plessy medals get added, the Toad Brigade stuff gets added. I felt like it, and the Lucky Island or whatever
Yeah.
that
and all the
happens.
getting mini games.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it would have been cool if maybe like there was an island or two that opened up after main game. The other thing that I found really kind of weird is, so like Bowser, right? So he's mad and there's this goop everywhere, and this kingdom that he's in is just like, completely screwed right now. And then even when you 100% the game, there's still goop everywhere, and the lake is still completely fucked up. Like,
yeah, this happened in Breath of the Wild too, and I wished
they call that ludonarrative dissonance.
Yeah,
I believe.
I wish there was a clean version of the world, just like the same I did in Breath of the Wild. Like I wanted to see a cleaned up Hyrule.
Yeah,
I hate Zelda's ending thing where it's like you finish the game, go back to when you didn't.
Yeah. But the thing with Bowser's Fury is that you don't go back to when you didn't, because when you beat him the first time at 50 shines, you save him or whatever, and then you go back and Bowser Jr. is like, well, that didn't work. So, things are still fucked up. But then 100%, he should be fine. And, once you do have 100%, he no longer gets furious, but like that giant goop critter is still there. That like part over the waterfall is just still covered with trash. Like this whole like kingdom is still completely fucked, even after you've, supposedly fixed everything. So yeah, I think unless anybody else has anything on Bowser's Fury, I think that's I'm pretty good on that.
Yeah, I think I definitely got all my thoughts across.
Yeah. All right. Well, now I just wanted to talk a little bit. We'd like to do kind of a leak zone sort of segment here. There are obviously always tons of rumors and then insider info.
There's a lot to talk about right now.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. So I broke it down. But the biggest thing, I would say the two biggest things. We'll start with the biggest one, which is there's a Switch Pro or whatever, and there's been all kinds of rumors about, Bloomberg reported there's an OLED screen on a revision. It has 4K. There's other people who are saying it has DLSS functionality. Some people are talking about, maybe it's more of a successor versus a souped up version. What did you guys, obviously, and I'll say this from the start. Nothing that we're talking about here is like, we know something or whatever. We're just talking about what people have shared. And and
there's
that
been so many there's been so many people talking about it that like
I notoriously know less than the average person. There was an old joke on Era that everyone on the site is an insider except for Raccoon.
Yeah, it's true, actually. Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, little known fact for lurkers and journalists is every single person besides me has insider knowledge of Nintendo specifically.
Yeah, everyone's dad works at Nintendo except for yours. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so I guess what do you guys think of the Switch Pro, quote unquote Switch Pro stuff you've heard so far? What do you think is likely, etc.? I guess we'll start with Barry since he doesn't know anything.
Long have I extolled about the non-existence of the Switch Pro with no basis, just because at this point it's undeniable that it's real. I think that the smart thing for the average person to do is to listen to Bloomberg. That's such an unsatisfying thing to say in a podcast, but in general, once you get real, actual journalists, professionals saying that something's legit, big boys, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, maybe this isn't gonna be, because forum teases are nice and they're cool and it's been a big cultural thing on Era in particular, but they are just meant to be fun at the end of the day, and that's by design. Nobody's sharing their heavy-hitting journalistic scoops on Purple website.
They
shouldn't be. If they are, it usually turns out poorly for them. Um,
Yeah.
so now that it's kind of become a mainstream thing, even I, in my baseless pessimism, cannot deny it any longer. What I have seen a lot is people saying that they have no reason to replace the controllers, and that upsets me greatly.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. You and I have talked about this a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
just livid, absolutely livid at the
There's no
assertion that
reason
Nintendo.
to do anything with
There's no
those.
reason to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nintendo has no incentive to fix something they're being sued over.
Yeah.
People unironically saying that to me.
Yeah.
Um,
No.
I hope they're not right, because that will upset me.
Yeah.
Um,
That, I mean, to me, the thing that I'm most interested in is not like spec stuff, or if stuff is enhanced or whatever, but I'm just curious if they're going to have a revision of the Joy-Cons to go with this thing, whether it's a silent revision, or there's something more significant on it. But mostly, are we going to get a actual solution to the drift issues, because it's pretty
Yeah.
undeniable that a lot of people have experienced it. What about you, Jared, on that topic?
Yeah, I guess the Joy-Cons thing aside, obviously I would like to see new, at least just like drift-resistant Joy-Cons. No, but overall I think the Pro is, it's exciting. So like I've heard it's like, I guess what Bloomberg and other people are saying is like it's about like as powerful as like Xbox One S.
Yeah,
but with
I've
the
heard
DLSS
that.
stuff, and like I think that's powerful enough to run still like most current gen games at like a solid like 30 frames a second.
who's saying Xbox One S? That's pretty good.
That's what I've read.
We've-
different, like,
One S.
Yeah.
One. Shit.
One-
Okay.
Yeah, not
S,
X.
not X.
One
No.
S. Okay.
Yeah, no Xbox Series X.
Microsoft.
Yeah, I've heard that speculation as well, and to me, I agree with you. That sounds nice.
Just like getting some more third party support on there, and getting like Nintendo first party games at 60 frames a second, 1080p.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What I think would be great, and I would definitely buy one if they, especially if
Yeah.
they enhance like older games like Breath of the Wild, and I think people had problems with like Xenoblade handheld looking pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind a performance update for Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity.
Oh yeah, that's very
Bowser's Fury handheld.
Bowser's Fury handheld. Yeah, that's technically true, right?
Yeah.
It runs at
Oh
30
yeah, it's
in
30.
handheld.
I
Yeah.
didn't
So bizarre.
I didn't mind it, but it was weird.
Yeah, I didn't really mind it
It's just
either.
weird.
I played the
Yeah,
whole
like-
game in handheld. I was kind of like, all right, whatever.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Certain
Yeah.
I played most of it handheld too. Certain games just like bother me in 30 more than others.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
Breath of the Wild definitely I would have preferred 60.
Oh, Animal Crossing in 60.
Yeah, Animal Crossing
I
was a
just-
weird one.
I would do anything
Yeah.
for Animal Crossing in 60.
Honestly?
It doesn't matter really, but
Yeah.
like
It just makes it
Animal
feel
Crossing
smoother.
just feels better. Yeah.
Yeah.
For a game that's so about like immersion and stuff and how it looks, especially now. New Horizons, the biggest thing it has going for it is how it looks. And like if we can get that at 60, it'll be
Yeah, that'd be great.
really
Make it happen, Nintendo.
make it happen.
All
What are you
right.
waiting
Well,
for?
before we go on an Animal Crossing tirade,
yeah. Sorry for that.
The only other thing I'd like to touch on for a minute here is so there's anniversaries this year, and there are rumors for how Nintendo will be celebrating the Zelda anniversary, and there are rumors that they may even be celebrating the Metroid anniversary this time. So I'm kind of curious.
What? I don't
I'm,
believe it.
I'm kind of curious what you guys
Metroid?
think about that.
What's
yeah,
that?
I don't know what it is either. But yeah, I'll start with Jared. What are you hoping for in terms of the anniversaries and in terms of the rumored stuff that may or may not exist?
I feel like the most likely, with the amount of Wii U ports on Switch, is the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, and like, I really hope they sell them in one pack.
Yeah.
I don't want to pay $60 for Wind Waker and Twilight Princess each.
I do.
Yeah, I was about to say, Raccoon says to me last night, he's like, I think they should like maybe hold on to Wind Waker and put it out for 60. And I was like, no, please don't.
Yeah.
Listen. I would rather pay $60 for just Wind Waker than $30 being wasted for Twilight Princess. I don't want Twilight Princess on my Switch. It's disgusting.
You know what? I don't blame you. I get it. I get the feeling, but also, yeah.
Free game? Ew.
Yeah.
Gross.
What's that? Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I want to play Twilight
Not if
Princess
it's
again,
ugly.
and then I might play Wind Waker eventually.
Oof.
Wind Waker. I haven't played much Zelda. That kind of like taints my discussion of Zelda Anniversary.
So maybe you would
'Cause
like to
I
have
have-
the Ocarina of Time collection.
Yeah, I have never played Ocarina of Time. I've never played Majora's Mask. I've never played Twilight Princess, as I shit on it. I've never played Skyward Sword.
Wait, you haven't played Twilight?
Wait, yeah, it's fantastic. Play it.
I have played Wind Waker, though. I'd gladly pay $60 for something I've played before, but I refuse for something new. Only Zeldas I've played are Breath of the Wild, Wind Waker, a little bit of A Link to the Past, and like a little of the original, and like you NSO stuff,
Yeah.
just dabble.
Right.
If you like
The-
Wind Waker, you'll probably like the other 3D Zelda games. Like, they're
I
not
like
that
Wind Waker
different.
okay. I'm not super into the and this is gonna start a whole conversation when I get into it. I don't mean to, but like some of the Zelda-y structure things, like the puzzles and the classic,
Right.
you hit a thing 3 times to open the door.
Yeah.
Like I liked Wind Waker in spite of those things, not really because of it.
I
Yeah.
think you might like the Wind Waker puzzles. I found pretty weak. Like, I don't want to go on for Wind Waker too
Okay.
long, but I think the dungeons in there are kind of like boring. I think the Ocarina of Time and like Twilight Princess puzzles and dungeons are a lot stronger. So I would definitely give them a try.
Yeah, before we go off on a Zelda tirade
Yeah,
here, because
let's
it's
pivot
very
back.
easy
Sorry.
to.
It's
very
So
easy.
yeah, there's the very long rumored Wind Waker plus Twilight Princess, double pack. I feel like
Stupid.
for that one, there's a lot of smoke with that one.
Yeah.
And once
No, I believe it
you
at
get
this
to a
point.
point where there's that much smoke, I feel like it's a pretty real possibility. There was another one that was rumored recently, which was an Ocarina of Time plus Majora's Mask collection, and
Oh, I'm so out of touch. Who was saying Ocarina of Time?
I don't remember.
I think you told me already.
Yeah, I don't even remember. It was just like I've seen it pop up in multiple places now.
Okay. Interesting.
I would like that, but I don't think you can sell both of those together for 60 unless they're the 3DS version.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope they're at least. I would hope Ocarina of Time in particular is based on the 3DS version.
I think Nintendo could sell one N64 ROM for $60, and I think it would sell if it were just Ocarina of Time for $60.
It would need
I
it
think
would
they
need
could
more
do it.
enhancements. Like,
No. They could do it.
All right.
If they said it was available for a week,
buy it.
okay, hear me out. They were like, this is the last time you will ever be able to play Ocarina of Time, your favorite game from childhood, everyone. It's available for one more week, and it's $60. It comes in a cartridge. The box art is ugly. It has like a word art logo.
it's got a
But it's
player's
available
choice
for a week.
player's choice logo on it.
Yeah, it has a completely different like
Only on
branding scheme.
Nintendo Switch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would buy it.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Yeah.
You would. You absolutely
So-
would. If they said this is the last time we're selling Ocarina
Okay.
of Time, I don't care. It's obviously bullshit,
Okay,
but like I'd be
but-
scared. What if they're not?
well-
What if they're telling the truth?
But one, I have Ocarina of Time on other things already, and two, I hate Ocarina of Time. So that's where I'm gonna
okay.
stop myself right
See,
there.
for me and my fellow Zoomers, like, oh shit, we got to get this game before it's $100, or we have to pirate it. So like, I would pay $60 for Ocarina of Time if it was available for 1 week.
Oh my god. All right. Well, anyway, the other big thing
Metroid.
here is, well, yes, right before Metroid 2, just wanted to make a quick mention. There is a big Zelda game coming. It's Breath of the Wild 2, and people are not really
Triforce
sure.
Heroes 2.
Yeah. I don't know how we feel if it's gonna make it for 2021 or if it's gonna slip to next year.
I believe I'm a believer.
You're a believer?
There's someone on Purple website who was very vehemently declared that it is coming in September 2022.
Is it you?
And I
Oh, okay.
no,
Okay.
no, and like even I don't have the gall, the audacity to say such a bold belief. Like if I believed that, I would keep it to myself, and it would keep me up at night. I don't know how people say such like horribly negative predictions so confidently.
Yeah.
Like I'm envious, honestly. Like the people who say Nintendo will never fix the Joy-Cons and don't care. Like that belief doesn't phase them at all.
That's some energy.
You know, that shakes me to my core.
That's some energy.
If I believed it as surely as they did that like Nintendo doesn't care at all about the controllers, like it would keep me up at night. I wouldn't it would fundamentally like change my perspective. My worldview would be altered by Joy-Con drift.
Okay. On that note, we're gonna steer back here. So yeah,
Sorry.
Metroid.
Yeah, Metroid.
So there's rumors
Finally,
of Prime Trilogy finally surfacing, and some kind of 2D Metroid, possibly Metroid 5. What do you guys think about those? We'll start with Barry.
Yeah, I like Metroid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think Metroid is neat. Metroid 5 would be awesome. It's so obviously going to be Mercury Steam if it exists, right? Like,
Yeah.
nobody else would make it. They wouldn't do it internally, unfortunately, as cool as I think that would be. Mercury Steam it is.
Yeah.
People like Samus Returns, from my understanding. It's the 3DS Samus 2
Yeah.
port.
It's pretty solid.
Samus 2. Metroid 2. So that'll be neat. And kind of bookends here, we mentioned how Miitopia sort of gives us a new insight as to 3DS. I think it was Jared that said like 3DS ports are a thing now.
Right.
Samus Returns is another 2017 3DS game that would be a great candidate someday. If that happens instead of Metroid 5, I'm going to scream. But like in general, I think it would be great. And Prime Trilogy, I've been waiting for 3 years, and like I'm not gonna believe it until it's in my hands. Now I'm not gonna believe it until it's in my Switch and I'm playing it.
Yeah.
Like,
That's fair. Jared?
Yeah, I didn't play Metroid 2 Samus Returns.
Wow.
I would definitely be down. I wanted to. It came at a bad time. But I would like to play Metroid 5. I don't know if I care that much about Metroid Prime Trilogy, just because I have all those games, and I
Yeah.
got the trilogy on the Wii U. If our listeners know about that console.
Yeah, that very niche console that no one ever heard of. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I have like enough passion to replay those right now, or play 2 and 3 for the first time when I already own them.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
And of course, Prime 4 is coming at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna say some point. I kind of feel similarly on Prime Trilogy. I think it would be cool if it does make it. It's convenient. It would be nice to have those available.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not particularly like, oh man, I can't wait to buy Prime Trilogy on Switch if it exists, because it's not like I don't own all 3 of those games originally and then Prime Trilogy on Wii again.
Yeah, and it's not like they're like an older they're not like a Mario 64 or like an Ocarina of Time, like an N64 game where they're a little crusty. Like they're GameCube games. They look good. You got to play them 480p. That's like HD.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Progressive scan.
well, I was gonna say like Dolphin games look great.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't really need to remake GameCube games. I mean, you do if you want them to look completely modern, but like, a GameCube game can look nice, just up-resed. Like we saw with Sunshine. Sunshine didn't have excuse me. Did Sunshine have new textures?
No, they didn't change anything.
Yeah, there wasn't any new texture work for Sunshine.
Yeah,
I know there were like
yeah.
a couple for 64, but not that I know of for Sunshine.
Sunshine looks great though.
Yeah, too bad it plays like crap.
16 by 9.
Kidding.
Yeah. 16 by 9 and up-res. I think that'll be good. Like, that's all you need.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the one I'm most interested in is, please let there be a new 2D Metroid. Please don't be a remake. Please be Metroid 5. That's,
Oh my god,
Yeah.
if they remake Super
Yeah.
Metroid a year after I play it for the first time.
yeah, that was a rumor too. It was
Oh.
like, at one point I was like, well, they're doing a remake of Super Metroid. That is the game, I think that is one of the games that least needs a remake ever.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I played it in like 2019 into 2020. I played it for a long, long time. That is a game you need to play in a short period that I played over the course of a year. It took me a year because I didn't play it in a weekend.
Yeah.
But it's awesome, and it felt like it's better than other new games I played in that time.
Yeah.
The atmosphere is better than other new games in that time.
Yeah. Like I
So,
understood for Metroid 2. Even
definitely.
even if like even with that one, I was like, I really don't need a remake of a Metroid game. Just give me a new one. It's kind of how I felt about It's very much how I felt about Link's Awakening as well. Like I don't need a remake of a Zelda game. Just give me a new 2D Zelda or top-down Zelda or whatever.
I think Link's Awakening also holds up better than Samus 2 even. Like,
Yeah, I think
just like that game's still fun.
yeah. Personally, I mean, for me personally, I'm one of those weird people who really likes Metroid 1 and 2, and I also
Wow.
really like Zelda 1 and 2, and
Huh.
regular Link's Awakening and stuff. But I think generally people tend to like Link's Awakening now more than they like original Metroid 2 now. Like if you just in the general conversation of things.
Definitely.
Um,
Link's Awakening had a DX version.
Yep.
Right?
It did.
Is that Game Boy Color or Advance?
yes,
It's
Game
color.
Boy Color.
Yeah.
It's one of the black
Um,
cartridges that works on both
yeah.
the Game Boy
Okay.
Color and the Game Boy.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So like
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like a remake of a remake, I guess technically if you want. I mean, whatever. But yeah, so anyway,
Yeah.
well, I think we've spent enough time talking about
Yeah.
stuff today. First off, just want to thank all of you for listening. We're definitely very curious to hear your feedback, what you thought of today's discussions, if you agree with us, if you hate us now. If you guys have any questions, please, send them off. Maybe we can do something in the future with that. For now, the last thing I'd like to do is any last words from you two. We'll start with Jared.
What? Whoa.
Well, no, okay.
Hey.
Last words for this episode. Is there anything that you want to say, Jared?
Yeah, just thank you for listening, and stay tuned. #.
Yes.
Oh man, ominous. And you, Barry?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. We had fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Had a good time.
Yeah. Good times.
Good time all around.
All right.
Pokemon.
You get Pokemon. Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
now, Clayton, say the catchphrase that brings us home.
Oh God, I got nothing. Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. That's gonna be it for us this time. But hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
as we say in Nintendo Nation, Mamma Mia.
I despise you with every fiber of my being. This whole thing is canceled.
Welcome
now.
back, Nintendo gamers.
Is this when we sing that Fortnite song that's been going around?
Don't forget to smash that bell.
All right. Anyway, I've been CMM1215, and
Bro.
you guys can say your thing too.
I'm Raccoon.
And I'm Jared, and also known as One Up Muffin. Check me
Yeah.
out on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. See you
Have a
next
good
time.
one. And an end clap for fun.
Yeah.
I didn't do. You're not supposed to.